Penn State is about to drop $700 million on a stadium that already shakes on game day. By 2028, Beaver Stadium will flaunt a winterproof field, a 360-degree skywalk, and luxury boxes that make some NFL arenas look thrift store. This isn't a facelift, it's a moonshot. Ready to sneak past the hard hat zone, Beaver Stadium looks mighty from the sky, but a closer look shows its age. Beneath the roar of game day, you'll find concrete poured in the 1960s, plumbing patched in the 1990s, and zero winter protection built in at all. The upper decks sway when a stiff wind hits, pipes freeze by Halloween, and the East Concourse still funnels tens of thousands of fans through tunnels designed for half that load. On the coldest nights, sprinkler lines ice over and stairwells turn into glass slides. That's why Penn State approved a $700 million overhaul. During a 4-hour closed-door session, the trustees faced 3 red alert realities. First, $80 million in delayed maintenance has piled up for 2 straight decades. Second, new Big Ten media contracts promise a flood of TV cash, but only if the venue meets modern standards. Third, top recruits now tour in January, and Beaver looks like a frozen relic, while rival schools show off climate-controlled palaces. Most of the money goes straight into the bones of the building. Structural and seismic reinforcement alone eats up about $380 million. Another $150 million creates 94 luxury suites, along with 6 glass-walled lounges that stay warm even in a blizzard. Tech upgrades such as a 4K scoreboard, a Wi-Fi 6E mesh, and fully cash-free concourses take roughly $70 million. A final $100 million sits in a contingency pot because steel prices and labour costs never stay quiet for long. Winterization is the headline trick. Engineers plan to lay 31 miles of hydronic piping beneath a brand new hybrid turf. Hot glycol will circulate through those pipes, keeping the field playable even when the air drops to 10 below zero. Radiant floors inside the new glass concourses should keep toes warm, while fans sip cocoa in December. Fan circulation finally gets its first true makeover. A skywalk will wrap the upper bowl, turning old bottlenecks into a gentle loop and adding space for thousands more square feet of sponsorship banners. In plain terms, more ad dollars help pay the debt. And yes, it means you might soon see a crypto lounge hovering over the student section. State College wants a slice of the action too. Economists expect $25 million in extra revenue every year, once the dust settles, starting with construction jobs now and rolling into winter tourism later. Local hotels are already blocking out dates for events that never existed before. Outdoor hockey classics, high school championship weekends, maybe even an NFL preseason game. But every moonshot hides a risk. Beneath those fresh beams sit Cold War-era foundations poured long before modern seismic codes. One hidden crack could blow through the contingency fund before Christmas of 2026. And the schedule is merciless. Contractors must finish before the expanded Big Ten playoff calendar explodes in 2028. One tremor, one supply chain hiccup, and Penn State's boldest bet could turn into a cautionary tale overnight. Ground breaks in early 2025, but the real drama starts 6 months later when the east stands come down. Demolition crews will arrive at dawn, set off a synchronized chorus of hydraulic jaws, and bite through 60-year-old concrete like stale bread. The entire lower bowl will vanish in slow motion, sending clouds of grey dust drifting toward Mount Nittany, while time-lapse cameras roll for the inevitable hype reel. By evening, only a skeleton of rebar will remain, lit orange by arc welders who torch the rust away long after the crowd has gone home. Phase 2 begins as soon as the rubble trucks clear the lot. Massive crawler cranes lift prefabricated steel ribs into place with millimetre precision. Each rib weighs more than a city bus, yet has to land flush against legacy columns that were never designed for a second life. Engineers call this part the marriage, because any misalignment now will haunt the project for the next 3 years. Meanwhile, an army of masons races a different clock, pouring 30 new stair towers before the first frost. If the concrete cures too slowly in October's chill, the schedule slips and the budget bleeds. Winter of 2026 brings what the contractors nickname the radiator. That is the grid of hydronic pipes that will heat the playing surface. Workers roll out coils of high-density plastic that look like endless blue spaghetti, then snap them onto a foam base in 40-foot lengths. Supervisors test-fire the glycol pumps at midnight when campus power demand is lowest. Steam rises from the turf like breath in the cold. And for the first time, Beaver Stadium beats the Pennsylvania winter. Spring flips the mood from grit to glamour. Glass panels arrive from Germany packed in crates the size of shipping containers. Each piece is crystal clear, double laminated and curved to follow the bowl. When the first section of Skywalk closes, drone pilots sweep through the oval for promotional shots that flood social feeds by sunrise. Better polish those fingerprints, because every influencer in Happy Valley just found a new selfie spot. The technology crew moves in next. Fibre spools unravel under the seats. Access points grow from the rafters like metallic orchids. And the new scoreboard appears in sections hauled by flatbeds at 3 in the morning to avoid traffic jams. Its final panel drops into place with a thunk that echoes across an empty field. A single bass note announcing the stadium's rebirth. By autumn 2028, the paint is dry. The suites smell faintly of cedar, and the last safety net comes down. Penn State schedules a soft open soccer match to test everything. Fire alarms, elevators, Wi-Fi logins, even the pressure in the cocoa dispensers. 2 weeks later, the first football Saturday kicks off at dusk. Under fresh LEDs and a steady swirl of November snow, Beaver Stadium finally looks the way its architects once sketched in pencil. Impossibly modern, defiantly loud, and ready for its next half-century. $700 million may sound like a moonshot, yet Penn State's accountants have already mapped the money's return flight. The centerpiece is a naming rights deal rumoured to hover near $200 million over 20 years. University officials won't confirm the suitor, but insiders whisper about a global tech firm eager to plant its logo beside the Nittany Lion. Nothing says college football tradition like a Silicon Valley handshake. Seat licenses carry the second payload. For decades, Beaver Stadium survived on modest ticket prices and nostalgia. Now every premium chair will come with a one-time legacy fee. Early projections suggest these licenses alone could pull in $90 million before the first shovel pierces dirt. The logic is blunt. If a lifelong fan spends thousands on away game road trips, they'll pony up once for the right to sit indoors when December turns State College into a freezer. Concessions morph from hot dog stands into micro markets. Cash registers vanish, replaced by computer vision gates that charge your card as you walk out with chili fries. Vendors claim the new system cuts average wait time from 12 minutes to 3. Faster lines mean more calories consumed per quarter, which means higher profit margins, which means quicker loan payments. Every soda becomes a micro installment on the stadium's mortgage. Corporate suites push the math into orbit. 94 private boxes, each with panoramic glass and on-demand butler service, rent for sums more often seen in Manhattan lease agreements. Late-night negotiations have already secured multi-year commitments from pharmaceutical giants and an energy drink brand that promises to install interactive ceilings, flashing the crowd's heartbeat in real time. It's outrageous, but that's the point. Spectacle sells, and the buyers want bragging rights woven into the walls. Outside football season, the venue becomes a four-season cash machine. The heated field opens the door to outdoor hockey classics, international soccer friendlies, and mid-February music festivals, where breath clouds mingle with laser beams. Tourism boards estimate an extra 300,000 visitors annually, a number that turns downtown State College into a year-round economy instead of a 6-weekend boomtown. Hotel chains have already optioned empty lots for new builds, betting the renovation will pull visitors the way field lights pull moths. Even the student body sees a dividend. Renovation plans reserve entire midweek blocks for intramural championships and commencement ceremonies, shifting rental fees that used to leave campus into Penn State's own ledger. Scholarships tied to athletic revenue grow in tandem, a point the university president repeats every time a skeptical trustee raises an eyebrow. Yet the whole model teeters on one condition: sellouts must remain the norm. A single losing season in 2029 could turn rosy forecasts into red ink. That pressure trickles down to recruiting officers, coaching hires, even nutritionists perfecting the pre-game menu. The stakes are no longer limited to school pride. They are woven into the bond payments due every July. In other words, we are now doubles as we owe. Imagine arriving 3 hours before kickoff, not to tailgate, but because stepping inside the new Beaver Stadium feels like entering a theme park. Ticket scanners vanish, facial recognition portals flash green as you walk through. A low hum rises from the turf heaters below and drifts into the concourse like the world's biggest floor vent. The air smells of cider instead of diesel because delivery drones now drop crates at roof level, skipping the old semi-truck choke point on Porter Road. The first sightline hit comes at the Skywalk. Glass curves around the upper bowl, framing Mount Nittany in one direction and a sea of blue seats in the other. LED strips pulse gentle white underfoot, guiding you toward your section without a single shouted instruction. The old days of herding fans like cattle are gone. Now the stadium gives you a light show and politely whispers, "This way, please." Step onto the 360-degree deck and look down. The field glows emerald in November because 31 miles of heated pipes keep every blade of hybrid grass at a balmy 65. Snowflakes land, melt, and vanish before the grounds crew even thinks about shovels. Above the opposite end zone, the new scoreboard looms like a floating cinema screen, 20,000 square feet of pure resolution that can split into 4 independent panels. One shows the drive chart, another runs live betting odds, a third pulls crowd selfies in real time, and the fourth beams a slow-motion replay you can almost feel in your ribs. Inside the concourse, vendor stalls no longer shout for attention. Touchless kiosks read the chip in your phone, suggest your usual order, and process payment before you can say, "We are." Overhead, projectors map animated lion paws onto the floor, leading kids toward a pop-up mascot zone where a costume Nittany roars on command for TikTok clips. For fans in the new glass lounges, reality bends further. Electrochromic windows tint themselves every time the sun peeks through a snow cloud. Digital menus on the coffee tables sync to your seat credential, serving up stats for the player whose jersey you're wearing. Tap the table again and call up a multi-angle replay of the last touchdown. Then swipe it onto a private wall screen so your cousin can break down the blocking scheme while biting into a cheesesteak. The stadium even listens. Acoustic sensors under the roof detect decibel spikes, feeding an algorithm that pumps extra bass into the speaker array whenever the student section crosses 100 decibels. The effect is a rolling thunderclap that cycles through the bowl and punches back out onto Curtin Road, letting latecomers know they've already missed something. Meanwhile, hidden from sight, a command center under the west stands hums, with 60 screens showing crowd heat maps and concession wait times. If a clump forms near the south restrooms, digital signs reroute traffic within seconds. The goal is simple: keep blood pressure low until the snap, then let adrenaline do the rest. By the final whistle, you may realize you barely glanced at your phone. That is the quiet genius of Game Day 2.0. Every upgrade, every sensor, every line of code exists to keep heads up and eyes forward, locking fans into a shared moment that feels both brand new and strangely primal. Every grand design casts a long shadow, and Beaver Stadium's rebirth is no exception. While cranes climb and glass rises, a quieter battle unfolds in committee rooms, court filings, and late-night town hall live streams. The first tremor came when alumni donors, normally the program's life support, asked why tuition climbed while luxury boxes sprouted like champagne mushrooms. University officials insisted the renovation taps separate bonds, yet message boards still buzz with the question, if football spends $700 million, how tight can things really be in the biology lab? Environmental advocates struck next. Hydronic pipes and heated turf promise unforgettable December kickoffs, but they also draw megawatts from a grid already stretched by winter demand. In January, testimony the State Utilities Commission warned of brownout risks unless Penn State installs a pair of on-site turbine generators. The university nodded, then filed a variance asking to delay those turbines until 2029, citing supply chain disruptions. Lawyers for the Sierra Alliance pounced, arguing the stadium would outsource its carbon footprint to coal-burning plants upstate. Construction unions add another layer of friction. The project sits at a crossroads of two jurisdictional territories, one representing steelworkers, the other carpenters. Both want lead contract status on the Skywalk. Mediation dragged for weeks until a slim handshake settled wage tiers, but insiders whisper the truce will hold only if overtime stays generous. One budget hiccup and the picket signs could reappear before the steel is sealed. Local residents watch with a mix of pride and dread. Retail owners on Beaver Avenue cheer the promise of year-round foot traffic, yet families 2 blocks south worry about post-game congestion, doubling in winter months when narrow streets turn icy. A draft traffic plan shows shuttle hubs and rideshare corrals, but critics point out that crowds rarely follow arrows when adrenaline spikes. One retired professor summed it up at a council meeting. We love the roar. We just don't want it echoing through our bedrooms at 2 in the morning. Even inside the athletic department, a fault line widens. Coaches crave the recruiting edge of a snow-proof colossus, but financial officers fret over debt service gates built into their contracts. A 5-loss season could slash premium seat renewals by double digits, forcing belt tightening in non-revenue sports. Gymnastics and fencing programs have already been asked to draft contingency budgets in case the football engine sputters. The paradox is brutal. Victory funds stability, yet the pressure to win grows heavier with every steel beam bolted in place. Behind these debates ticks the immutable clock. The Big Ten playoff calendar expands in 2028, and television partners expect their winter showcase delivered on time, on budget, and at full electrical glow. One legal injunction, one Labor walkout, or one grid failure could shove the opening night into a costly limbo. For now, the project forges ahead, but the ground beneath it feels like the frozen turf it hopes to conquer. Solid on the surface, unpredictable underneath. Outside consultants quietly call Beaver Stadium the most important case study in college athletics since digital ticketing first hit smartphones. If the $700 million gamble pays off, it will draft a rule book every aging venue from the Rose Bowl to Notre Dame's house will study line by line. The core idea is simple but radical. Treat a 20th century concrete bowl as a software platform that can receive endless updates, rather than as a monument frozen in time. Step 1 in that philosophy is modular design. Every new beam, stair and luxury box is bolted, not welded, and every glass panel sits in a clip system that unhooks like a smartphone case. Engineers claim a future video board upgrade could happen overnight, with cranes sliding a larger panel into the same tracks the way a gamer swaps graphics cards. The stadium you see on opening night is version 1.0, not the finished product. Data drives the second pillar. More than 25,000 sensors will live under seats, in concession ceilings and along handrails, streaming real-time information to a cloud server that never sleeps. Heat maps track crowd flow, vibration meters study structural flex, and micro-weather stations sniff the air for sudden humidity spikes that warn of approaching flurries. Penn State plans to publish monthly dashboards for engineers around the country, turning Beaver into a living laboratory. If an aisle clogs at halftime, designers in Texas will know by morning and tweak their own blueprints accordingly. Sustainability closes the loop. Critics worried about power draw may find unexpected solace in a geothermal field drilled beneath the practice lots. Boreholes 300 feet deep will share load with the hydronic turf heaters, turning waste heat from summer conditioning drills into stored thermal energy for winter kickoff. If the system works, universities sitting on similar limestone bedrock can copy-paste the entire schematic, cutting both emissions and electric bills without touching the coal grid. Then comes the cultural echo. When recruits walk the Skywalk and swipe replays to the lounge wall, they will post clips faster than any marketing department could dream. Platforms from TikTok to whatever replaces TikTok will flood with first-person footage, giving the stadium an infinite billboard value that never appears on a balance sheet. Rival programs will scramble to match that viral shine, pushing the arms race beyond seating capacity or scoreboard height and into the realm of seamless experience. Yet for all the talk of prototypes and dashboards, the soul of the project circles back to a 90-year-old stadium usher who started working games before Joe Paterno's first season. He told a local paper he hopes to see one more whiteout, but this time without 3 layers of socks. His comment landed in a footnote of the trustee report, a reminder that the grand experiment matters only if the human heartbeat inside the data stream keeps pounding. Next winter, when the first snow falls and 25,000 sensors say the field is warm, the prototype will meet its moment of truth. If the turf stays green and the old usher stays warm, every clip, every bolt, and every watt will echo across the nation as proof that stadiums can evolve without losing their roar. Picture a late season night in 2028. A blue-white blizzard curls across the valley while floodlights carve twin halos into the storm. Inside Beaver Stadium, the turf glows alive, warm vapor shimmering where snow should settle. 60-second countdown on the colossal board, drums rattling through rib cages, student section pulsing like a single lung. In the command bunker below, engineers hunch over sensor graphs that spike and settle like a heartbeat. Temperature holding, load balanced, no alarms. Upstairs, an old usher buttons his coat once, then slips it open again when he feels the radiant floor kiss his boots. Kickoff thunders and the first tackle drives a shockwave through steel beams, both ancient and newborn. Strain gauges flicker green, concrete tremors but does not flinch. The Skywalk hums with sneakers and phone cameras, and somewhere a drone arcs across the bowl, streaming an angle no human eye has owned before. The crowd roars at itself on the scoreboard, seeing its own reflection 20,000 pixels tall, a self-portrait painted in light and heat. A running back bursts through the line. He glances down, only for a heartbeat, and feels warm grass under December studs. That half second of comfort translates into a yard of acceleration, a yard that shifts field position, a yard that might tip a season, a coaching career, a university's balance sheet. Up in the glass lounge, an executive taps a tabletop to replay the run, calculating whether that extra yard just spiked premium suite renewals for another fiscal year. Outside the bowl, wind rattles the windows of downtown apartments where residents once complained about late-night echoes. Tonight, most of them are awake anyway, watching the light show swirl over the stadium like an aurora they can't turn off. And maybe, grudgingly, loving every phosphorescent second. On the edge of town, power plant operators monitor the load curve and smile. Those geothermal bores are bleeding surplus heat back into the grid, not draining it. A victory no one will cheer out loud, yet a victory all the same. Back inside, the scoreboard clock bleeds down to triple zeros. Fans hold their breath for the final snap, but the story refuses to freeze. What happens when the pipes age, when the tech dates, when another program unveils something brighter and louder? What happens if the next snowfall is heavier, or the next recruit cares more about augmented reality than heated turf? 1 decade from now, this marvel could stand as template or cautionary tale, The ball spirals, the whistle screams, helmets crash, sensors hum, turbines spin, skywalk glass trembles. The usher clenches his hands and feels them warm as spring. Somewhere in that symphony lies the answer, but no one will know it tonight. For now, there is only breath on cold air, a field without snow, and the electric possibility that the next play, the very next heartbeat, might rewrite the blueprint all over again.